Saturday's game, yeah, it's a big rivalry. The Paul Bunyan Trophy's on the line, but it's also win or go home for Jonathan Smith, or is it? Who knows? Maybe Graham does.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, how on earth are we all doing during this very impassioned hate week right now, Graham? That's right, I'm just chomping at the bit right now. Can't wait for kickoff. Woo! Please rate, review, subscribe. We're going to get into the game a little bit. But right now, we're going to talk about kind of just the flavor of the week of the last few weeks here, Graham, because it's been all the rage that, yes, Jonathan Smith, a lot of these fans, and at this point now, as much as I hate to admit it, myself included, I feel like I've seen enough. But you get one more chance here against Michigan, right? And I talked about this on yesterday's show because he was asked about it at the press conference. What would a win do? And factually, I know this gets you to 4-4. It gets a bowl game back into question. But then, does it mean Jonathan Smith saves his job? Is his job already in peril? Is it inevitable that he gets fired anyway? Graham, I need you. I need your help. What does Saturday mean for all this, for Jonathan Smith being employed here at Michigan State? Because I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it alone changes everything.
Okay.
But it's an opportunity. Like if any sort of unexpected, miracle is the wrong word, but if a trajectory that we don't see coming is going to happen, it's going to start Saturday. And so that would certainly be there. And I think regardless of whether he's the coach, for him, for the players, I think this is still an opportunity, something to be remembered for. People don't forget these games.
No.
And if you win this game, people they'll feel a certain way about Jonathan Smith if he leaves, and a lot of people feel he never got a fair shake. Some people feel like that just wasn't a fit, and I think more and more people feel that way. And nobody's going to feel bad for him. He's going to walk away with a lot of money if this is what happens. But
right.
But if he does beat Michigan, people will remember that too. That he did beat Michigan, and he figured that out. And I think for the players to have something that it's not been a great era, so to have something that's sort of attached to you, I think is not insignificant. And I think they know that. So I think it's still an opportunity for a win that's legacy. I'm very curious to see where the season goes beyond that, regardless of what happens. Like I don't know that. Like they seem focused this week. They seem to understand that the Nick Marshes, the Aiden Childs, everybody. But win or lose against Michigan, what does Minnesota look like the next week when this week's out? That's often the test for a program. But this is still an opportunity. I don't know what it'll mean. I tend to think the die is cast a little bit. But
okay.
We'll see. I mean, the biggest tell for me is that they're just, other than Tom Izzo, who coming out and support or trying to get fans to rally around Jonathan Smith, not really coming out and supporting him, but trying to get them to rally. And Tom Izzo supports every coach. If you and I were coaching,
right.
Tom Izzo would be supporting the heck out of us. Like that's what he does.
He's a great guy. Yeah.
Bless him for it, right? And so, but we just haven't heard anything. The silence has been telling. And that's look what happened in Wisconsin. They came out with a statement about Luke Fickell. Yeah. Whether Luke Fickell ultimately survives beyond the season, they made that statement to try and calm the waters. That said, I also respect and appreciate not being lied to. And so if you're not, if where you are is not sure about a guy or not sure, then not saying anything is fine too. I think it's up to Smith and his staff to prove the world wrong at this point. But I don't sense there's a lot of people in his corner right now at Michigan State.
I'm so glad you brought that up because that is the second bullet point I wanted to get to. It's eerily quiet here, especially in the college football world where it seems like by now, if you're not having a good season, you are either having your head rolled down the street of your campus, you're fired, or like you mentioned, like Wisconsin giving a voice of support for Luke Fickell. Florida State just did something similar with Mike Norvell. But yet MSU it's crickets, but I like the way you put it. Like, we don't like being lied to. Like, why show the voice of support halfway through the season if there isn't actually one? And also, it's a weird thing. Like, once you do put out a voice of support, you are also admitting that this has been a train wreck of a season. So, like, do you want to do that before the rivalry week? I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of politics games being played, like, right there. But I just thought it was interesting that there has been nothing said. But you're along the lines of, like, you think it's actually just for the better for all parties involved that there's nothing right now.
To some degree, yeah. I mean, look what happened with Mike Norvell at Florida State. They basically said we're going to make a decision at the end of the year. That's that this isn't good enough. Like that they are making a decision. You know, it's sort of like being a people always ask, would you rather be an employee with a contract or not? And there's two ways to look at it. Every few years they got to make a decision on you, right? Your contract's up, and when you say to somebody, we're going to look at this at the end of the year, you're saying there's a decision to be made here, and I don't know that that's helpful for recruiting and anything else. And I think with Luke Fickell's case, it was also telling that they don't think the resources have been put into the program that are necessary. And maybe that's a fair point. I believe that's the case at Michigan State too. But that doesn't mean you also believe you have the right person to get those resources and then to win with them. I just think Michigan State's at a spot where I think they've found a situation where the fit just isn't perfect, and that's probably going to be that.
What do you have to see for the rest of the season? Because I'm rehashing a topic I did last week. I said I need to see a win against Michigan and go to a bowl game. Like, it's not enough to just beat Michigan and still fizzle out to a 4-8 season to see year 3 of this personally. What is it for you, though? Or is this just all lost? Like, is it just already a foretold conclusion that he will have a for sale sign up in his yard by end of November?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right on those terms. And there is,
it's tough. I mean, it is difficult, but that's what I got to see.
There is a path to that, obviously, because of what Penn State situation. No quarterback, coaching change. They're 0-4 in the Big Ten. Maryland to end the season.
Is Maryland right?
So yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot. There's a lot there. But I still think, like, part of leadership is making difficult decisions. Mm-hmm. And if you don't think the momentum, like what Jay Batt has to do right now, this is a financial issue too. Yeah, he has to, and I think this is why this wasn't opportune for this to happen. He didn't want this to happen this year.
Of course,
he wanted more time to build relationships, to build donor support, to figure out what needed to be done, and to be able to execute it. And now it speeds things up. So if you're, at this point, I think you have to, if you're him, part of leadership is tough decisions. And if he goes 6-6 and beats Michigan, but you don't think he's the right guy going forward, you still have to make that move. Mm-hmm. And you have to be willing to also say, if he's 5-7 and he loses to Michigan or whatever, that you do think he's the right guy, and for whatever reason. And the fact that there hasn't been anything yet, and maybe he's still making that mind, but my sense is this isn't the situation they're thinking about. Now, maybe if you go 6-6 to a bowl game that feels like there's some momentum, there is an advantage to delaying a decision a year. I don't see what that advantage is. I don't think the buyout gets that much better. I don't think it helps with program momentum ultimately. I don't think you're able to put together a roster that's that much better next year. And so unless you're going to be able to do those things, unless you're going to be able to get the financial support to build a defensive line and do the things you need to do to succeed, I don't see the advantage of just carrying on.
Plenty more to come with Graham Couch. But first, guys, hey, got to hear from Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do simply more than just move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details, and Mazda brings the same attention to how they craft every single model. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but ordinary, from smooth handling, intuitive controls, and plus, with all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season, guys. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. It's Mazda. Move and be moved. Also, guys, Peloton. Get your sweat on with the icons over at Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with a brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. It's their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, cross-training, you name it, all with your favorite instructors. You can't beat it with Peloton. This is Training Reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you stay motivated, you help you plan accordingly, and reach your peak performance. Guys, the swivel screen is also a game changer. You could go from running on the Tread Plus to strength training without ever missing a beat. So let yourself run, lift, flex, whatever it is, push forward and do it with Peloton. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. So moving to this week and also harkening back to last year, Jonathan Smith came out after the game, and I forgot his exact quote, but I think he was caught off guard by how passionate the rivalry was. And I think that maybe got blown a little bit out of proportion. Like he was thinking, oh, this is just a game against Eastern Michigan. Like, no, I think he thought there was like a baseline level of hatred, but it was just higher than anyone that's outside of the state could even know. So fast forwarding to this year, I know he was peppered on this a lot yesterday at media availability. Just whether it's Smith, whether it's the team, whether it's anyone that you've been around, does it feel different leading up to Michigan game this year as opposed to last year at all?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, a couple things. One, I think the Smith press conference, he's trying to say the things people want to hear, and I'm sure he's
playing the hits. Yeah, he is.
And he's trying to show some emotion. It feels a little forced.
Okay.
Because I think he's not being, unfortunately, being who he is naturally isn't what people want right now.
Right.
But where I really saw it, and I do believe he's felt it since last year. But talking to like Nick Marsh, which was in Tuesday's availability, he was very. I mean, even he, a guy who grew up in Michigan, who was on the sidelines at Spartan Stadium for the 2021 game, and that, he didn't realize what it was, the intensity of it, the cheap shots, all the little things that go on in this game. You have to live it. You have to live it, and that's not Jonathan Smith's fault. And I don't think, that game, I think, started a lot of people losing faith in him. But that game alone isn't why we're here, right? I mean, and so but I do think he has a better sense. I think the players do. I think they know what they're going into, and I think they know this is an opportunity for them. I think a lot of these guys are starting to understand that the Smith era may not be long for Michigan State, and that they're starting to think about what that means for them.
Right.
But I think for this week, they're focused. After this week, I don't know.
I was going to say, it just feels like last call to get like anything turned around this season. You lose this game. Well, it's not like the schedule lightens up any better. Minnesota, they're not a great team, but they're certainly better than Michigan State. And Penn State's vulnerable, but they also are very talented still on their roster. Iowa at home, and then, end of the year, Maryland at Ford Field. I can't bring myself to care about that right now at this moment, but it just feels like last call for anything good this Saturday. Not to be all doom and gloom or walk around with a giant Eeyore cloud over my head, but it just kind of seems like this is it for everyone. Good luck getting anyone to even watch after this game. I mean, I know I will, obviously, but oh boy.
Well, I mean, I think people will watch. Well, some people will watch for the train wreck component. They want to see if that happens, and then other people, if they win this game somehow. Yeah. Which I don't think is a 0%. I mean, I think it's 20 to 25% chance at home that they pull this off.
Okay.
If they win this game somehow, then there will be intrigue about what they do going forward. Because then and I am curious to see what the response is, because people can say, and I can sit here and say it's not enough but beating Michigan has a way of making people feel a certain way.
Yeah.
And it changes how. I mean, heck, last time somebody beat Michigan at Michigan State, everybody threw a $100 million contract at the guy and said, "Stay here for life, whatever."
That's right. We don't care. That's right.
We do not care about anything else. You stay. And so, it is a different sort of deal. I mean, Mark D'Antonio won over the fan base after a loss to Michigan because of what he said.
Yeah.
Right. This is the game that changes how people feel about it. And that said, a lot's happened, and I think there are things that are just. It clearly doesn't look like it's going to work long term. But I do think it could change how people feel about Jonathan Smith, even if people aren't convinced he should be the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is an opportunity to say, I mean, there'll be people years from now think of him differently than they would if he loses this game or just kind of whimpers out this season. If they go down swinging and they beat Michigan, and even if they move on or whatever happens, they'll say, that was, I don't know, maybe that would have gone somewhere. That guy was still a good coach, or that was a heck of a game. That showed something. There will be a different feel for him if they win this game.
Yeah, I talked about it in the post game on Indiana. Like, if Michigan State beats Michigan, that kind of puts things in a weird spot because you don't know if he's the right guy moving forward. But if not for nothing else, for like 24 to 48 hours after that game, Saturday night, Graham, like, oh, I'll be on one. I'll be saying things I don't mean. Like, it'll be euphoric. But then when we come crashing down, okay, well, we'll just pick up those pieces when we get there. That's a future us problem. But guys, I got to let everyone know, I don't actually really send Graham outlines to this show. I leave him high and dry. I feel so bad about it. But he did it again for the second time this show, going right into where I wanted to go next. He goes, right here in front of me, I have that K-Ford ratings gives Michigan State a 12% chance at victory against Michigan. Graham, you just said it, 20 to 25%. I like that number a lot more. So thank you for offering your Grahamalytics up here. Why are you higher than all those nerds over there on the internet?
Because this isn't just about football. If this was
that's right.
Purdue versus Penn State and you just looked at the matchup, you would say that's probably correct, right? But even with Michigan's limited offense. But this isn't about that. We saw last year Michigan State was in control of the game a little bit for a while, right? We've
certainly.
2016, the 25-point spread wound up being a competitive game. We've just seen it too many times where it doesn't play out how we think. And there are also dynamics within this game that allow the chance of an upset. So think of it like a high major versus a mid major, if you will. And I know Michigan State fans don't want to think of this rivalry.
That's going to go over well. Yeah, that's going to go over great with the comments.
But the way those upsets happen are when you have a quarterback who can throw it around and when you have a couple wideouts. Yeah. And when the other team does not have a juggernaut of an offense to run away from you. So even if they're winning at the line of scrimmage, they're unable to take advantage of that to the way, like if Michigan had an offense, like just sling it around right now, that would so that's why I think Michigan State has a passing game that, found itself last week a little bit. Aiden Childs plays like the quarterback he was last week, the quarterback he was at USC. And Nick Marsh is full strength now, and they have guys who can be equalizers. And you need, to win a game like this, you need to have guys that it doesn't matter who they're playing against. They can be, they can create their own advantage. They can get theirs. And Michigan State has a couple of those guys in the passing game, especially Marsh. And then Childs can create, and they're going to need a turnover or two, because they're not going to win at the line of scrimmage. They're going to need Underwood to screw something up. But he's a freshman. I mean, that's I'm always amazed by the angst of Michigan this year, because you chose to play a freshman quarterback, which I don't begrudge them. I mean, I think he's a fantastic talent. I think some of the stuff he shows under pressure and the throws he makes, he could be a real force a year from now. But freshmen are seeing things for the first time, and so he's going to, this is a time to get him. I think anytime you're playing a freshman quarterback, if you expect more than 8 or 9 wins, you're expecting too much. But MSU has a puncher's chance in this game. They've got to force a turnover to figure out how to get off the field a few times, and their offense has to be its best.
So you think in the Tom Izzo football building on a loop is just that 2020 game where Rocky Lombardi to Ricky White for 587 yards? Like that's the game plan right there. We're just going to huck this thing as far as it could possibly go, and pray to God Omari Kelly or Nick Marsh is down there somewhere.
No, I would do exactly the opposite. I would play the underneath stuff. I would have a very, very rhythm
once this season.
That's where it's worked. When they tried to do it, I mean, granted there was some wind in Nebraska, but that was a disastrous game plan. The stuff they did last week, where you're moving the ball, and I'm not saying the mid deep stuff doesn't work and taking some shots. You do all that. But where Childs is at his best, where his offense is at its best, is getting the ball in Nick Marsh's hands and letting him work, or getting, letting him make one move or two, and boom, the ball is there. That's where nobody can really cover him, and I think that's the best chance they have to keep an offense that eats up clock like they did last week early and moves down the field.
Yeah. All right, obviously a big game coming up this Saturday at Spartan Stadium. Getting tickets, it can always be a struggle, no matter what game it is, but especially for a rivalry game, it could even be more intense than the game itself. But not with Game Time. Guys, Game Time is the greatest ticketing app out there. I've been using Game Time for months, if not actually now at this point, a few years. And I'm still blown away by how simple it is to not just get the tickets, but also save money. A few days ahead of kickoff right now, go ahead, find some flash deals around Spartan Stadium for this big game coming up on Saturday. Or let's say, the mood just strikes you. You want to get up at 5 o'clock, drive over to East Lansing, but you don't have tickets. Still not too late to save money because their last-minute ticket deals Also go up until kickoff time, jump ball time, puck drop time, whatever it is, guys. You can save money up to the last minute with Game Time. And also save money right now, guys. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Also, look your best for the rest of football season. All right, the start of hockey season, basketball season, whatever it is, look sharp with Alumni Hall. Because Alumni Hall has the largest selection of officially licensed Michigan State gear from all the top brands you're looking for. We're, of course, talking Nike. We're talking Columbia, Champion, Yeti, New Era, so much more, guys. They have apparel for the entire family from kids to adults, plus a huge selection of hats, gifts, all the tailgating gear you could ever need to make your setup the best in the parking lots this season. And they really take care of the MSU community. Students, faculty, as well as military and all first responders, you get 10% off with a valid ID in the store. And on top of all that, go ahead and follow them on social media. Download the Alumni Hall app because that is where you will find even more offers and sales. So pop into Alumni Hall in the Eastwood Town Center in Lansing near the Apple Store, or shop online or through their app. And best part is, for every $150 you spend, you will get $10 in hall cash to use for the next time. So what are you waiting for, guys? Get that new game day look or upgrade your tailgate with Alumni Hall, your ultimate Michigan State shopping destination. So before we get you out the door here, because you're incredibly busy today, you got to go off to another media obligation here. We're going to switch it to basketball just really quick because Thursday, 7 p.m., it is the Tum Tum Nairn Bowl against Bowling Green in an exhibition on Big Ten Plus. Now, Bowling Green, ranked number 192 on Torvik right now, as if that means anything before the ball's tipped off. And they're led by 6'2" guard Javante Campbell. Not so much of a shooter, but really drives the ball well. Graham, really quick, what's the one thing that's going to hold your attention in this game on Thursday night?
Oh, there's a lot, but it's how it all looks. A new team, a new dynamic. Jace Richardson. Like, where does the ball go? Where does the ball land when they're looking to find offense? What do the freshmen look like? What does the two guard position look like? I mean, these are why fans are. I mean, from our page view metrics, nobody reads more than the exhibitions. It takes like a Final Four to get to the exhibition level. The Champions Classic. I'm telling you right now, editors don't get this. If you're going to not send your writer somewhere, don't send them to the Champions Classic. Like 3,000 media, the game's on TV. It's still football. But every exhibition, these are the games because sometimes you can't see them, and everybody's curious. And I'm curious about everything about this team. I think it's an interesting young team, It's an interesting team for a lot of reasons. They need guys to step up. In certain positions who are returners. They need, there's a lot of intrigue about new guys. And I think Jace Richardson a year ago only adds to that intrigue. Like, is there somebody out there who's just a next level guy that you don't see coming? Mm-hmm. What does Cam Ward look like? I think it's all, is Carson Cooper really going to shoot threes? I mean, everything is interesting at this stage. And so to me, it's all interesting.
Carson Cooper actually going to shoot threes, you think? Like, let's just call our shot here now, because they had that clip on Twitter, of course, where he's just draining one like Steph Curry. I had a hard time believing that we're going to see.
So I think he's going to shoot him. He was doing it at Moneyball, so I asked him then. I was like, does Izzo know this? And he said, yeah, I'm doing it in practice. And question. One of the things Izzo does, he said, is if you're a 4-year guy and you put in the work, he lets you do it until you show him you can't. And so I think you're going to see a lot more threes from Kohler than you do Cooper, obviously.
Yeah, right.
I think what Cooper understood, to his credit, was that when he had the ball up top, they were 4-on-5 on offense. Now, he was good at the handoffs and other things. It's not that he's not cerebral at all, but he was not a non-threat. I think he thinks he can really help them if people can't just completely leave him at the top of the key. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he shot, 30 to 40 this year, and maybe it's just that 1 to 2 a game tops. But I do think we'll see him at least attempt them when they're open.
If he makes a 3 on Thursday, I'm booking flights to wherever the Final Four is this year. It's going to be the most overreaction moment that I've had in some time. But Graham, thanks a lot for joining us. I know you're incredibly busy. You got a bolt right now. But guys, we're going to answer a mailbag question here in a hot second. But Graham, you're the best. Go read his stuff. Lansing State Journal, Couch of the Roof podcast. You guys already know where to find him. It's Graham freaking Couch, for crying out loud. But Graham, you're the best. Thanks a lot, man.
Appreciate you, Matt.
All right, just because Graham is gone doesn't mean we're just not going to talk about him anymore, because this mailbag question from Ryan writes in, just saw a snippet of the Couch in the Rube where they posed the question, who would you rather have as next head coach, Max Bola or James Franklin? Someone made a comment, would Bola bring a grit to MSU like Dan Campbell brings to the Lions? Got me thinking, would that be something we could get behind as a fan base? Would he get a longer leash, being as he's a homegrown dude, linebacker coach at Notre Dame, but probably wouldn't get head coaching stuff down that fast, so 1.5 years wouldn't be long enough to get it tight. Now, I did want to bring this up with Graham only had him on, but he had to leave, time constraints. So we're just going to go ahead and solo dolo this one. And I'm not kidding. I'm not going to do the work to dig up these episodes, but I've been on the Brain Max Bola home train for a while. Now, that's under the capacity of defensive coordinator. And it's just this one random interview that I kept citing over and over again, but it was with Bustin' and the boys. Will Compton, Taylor Lewan, they asked Mike Vrabel when he was coaching Tennessee, who's the smartest football player that you've ever had? And think of all the players that Mike Vrabel has been around, some real top-end guys. I'm sure he's been around some all-pros. He labeled Max Bola a guy that, had, 3 years worth of coffee in the NFL. Not a scrub by any means, of course, but certainly not a guy that I'm sure the interviewers were expecting. He saw that Max Bola was one of the smartest guys when he coached him in the NFL, and I'm sure that has carried over to his time, whether it's being a grad assistant at Alabama, a great winning program, or so far, I would say things are going pretty well at Notre Dame right now. College football playoff last year, very well could be back this year. So that would be a pretty big jump, though, to go from linebacker coach at Notre Dame to head coach right here. I wouldn't be for it right now. Of course, I'd be for him being a defensive coordinator. I think he's going to be a star in that department one day. I would love for it to be here instead of, I don't know, just the classics, what I just named, another Alabama or a Notre Dame or what have you. I would love to bring Max Bola home. I've been on the train for a while. But now that we're doing the whole coaching shuffle thing, even though we still haven't fired our coach, what better time to bring that up and talk about it? Because, yes, we have gotten other emails talking about Max Bola, but for defensive coordinator next year or whenever Rossi goes out the door, what have you. But going all the way to head coach, I just like you brought up. I mean, it's not that I don't believe he will be a head coach one day. I could very well see that happening. I just think some steps have to be taken there. Let's just start defensive coordinator first. Let's get your feet wet in the Big Ten for a little bit. I know playing at Notre Dame is basically like playing in the Big Ten, but in due time, I would love to see it. But I'm going to walk before I run here, and I would just love to stump for him as defensive coordinator. I think he's got the juice. He knows what it takes here. And just like you said with that grit, his attitude, I'd watch any one of his press conferences. That's a man that's on a mission and dialed in. Very similar to his playing days here at Michigan State a little more than 10 years ago. All right, guys, we're going to be back tomorrow. Slated to have Chris Castellani on this show. And then at the very end of the week, Chase Glasser of Spartans Illustrated to go through all the X's and O's of this game, how Michigan State can find a way to a victory, and, what's going to be difficult in that department. But until then, guys, take care of yourselves. Love you all. Go Green.